Stand clear. Drunk man regurgitating on a neighbour's doorstep that wouldn't dare complain I pride myself in pain. Thrown out of one pub into another where mothers of 18 snub foreigners and let themselves be seen serving Guinness with the shamrock. Unnerving as you wonder whether to disturb the froth as I walk my walk to the chair by the table beneath the stairs. My semi-digested kebab will lie there for a while, dried out as I walk past the next day. The door will not open to suggest it may be occupied inside. A family of 8 hide in squalor, survive and hibernate, happy to be stowed away. While ignorance is walking on a path where only the seated can be respected, talking on phones, loans affecting little but repeated cycles of history. She looks up to me, as though my kind donation was salvation and I was Christ. For my 1 yo-yo 73, testimony that sometimes men weren't mice, blinded when their tails fell off, reminded by a subtle cough that standing tall is a privilege and sitting small is art. Wrapped in skin, 4 years out of date, a blanket of the same state and a card that simply read, living is dying when love is dead. So I sat down beside her to listen to her speak. She said people walk past me and think that I'm weak, but I was sent to Liverpool when I was 12 years old, with a one-way ticket and a handful of clothes, told by my family not to come home 3 days, 4 months and 31 years ago. And I can still smell the fear that grew in every girl's womb as we waited alone in that hospital room to atone for a sin that we didn't commit but were forced to abort and too scared to admit we'd been raped by an uncle, a priest, or a friend of the family circle and told to pretend we were visiting cousins that left in the 50s to find work in the buildings in one of the cities. But they think I'm a junkie because I live in the streets. It makes it easier for them to walk past when we meet or ignore me in doorways, or when I'm down by the quays to call me a smackhead than to stop and to see that the only real difference between myself and themselves is the horrors I suffered back when I was 12. And as I listened to her story, I noticed something strange. As soon as I sat down, the energy had changed. It was like the city existed on a different plateau where the noise from above met the silence below, and as I watched them shuffle past in their new designer suits, I wondered how they give themselves to such empty pursuits. But she read me as easily as Anne and Barry and said everyone's got their cross to carry, and just because they dress nice and choose a chemical smell, they bleed the same way. So remember this well, that sometimes the rougher and the worse that we look is a sign of a much more interesting book. And she laughed at me then, and I can still see her smile, dimple her cheeks as her eyes all the while held onto mine and refused to let go till I promised I would, and she nodded. I know. And that was 10 years ago. True story. And I went back the other day. I wanted to apologise, to say I'd been away, but that I still remembered what she'd said to this day and how she changed the way that I saw the world. But where I found her, curled up against the cold, there was just a retail unit sold to some cookie cutter store selling furniture and more. And when I asked for her, I swear they looked at me as though I was diseased. And so I turned to leave and headed back down to the bus, where I knew that I could trust that in the boot I'd find him waiting, telling me to stand clear, luggage doors operating.